You're listening to the Jewish Entrepreneur Podcast with Debbie Sassen, episode 91. Welcome to the Jewish Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Debbie Sassen. I went from being a financial advisor, author, and chronic under-earner to building my business to six figures as a financial planner and money mindset coach, and then onto multiple six figures as a full-time money and business coach. I help entrepreneurs create money-making businesses and build wealth using sales and money mindset strategies and in alignment with authentic Jewish values. Now, let's dive in to today's show. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the podcast. I have a very fun episode for you today. Today, when I'm recording this podcast episode, it is the Hebrew day Tu B'Av. It is the 15th of the Hebrew month of Av. And today is a special day on the Hebrew calendar. The Talmud calls today one of the greatest yearly festivals. Tu B'Av marks the end or the reversal of many tragic events that happened to the Jewish people. In particular, when we were wandering in the desert for 40 years, in particular, Tu B'Av was the day that we knew that anyone who had been decreed from God in the heavens that they were going to die during that year, we knew that that time had already passed. I'm not going into details today for this podcast episode. You can definitely Google it and look the information up for yourself. But it was considered a day of rejoicing. Anybody who made it to the middle of the month when there was a full moon, and we can definitely look into the sky and see when the full moon strikes. So we knew that any tragedies had passed. Today was a day of rejoicing. We also know that Tu B'Av was considered like a matchmaking day. We learned from our oral tradition that on this day, unmarried women would dress in white. They would go out into the vineyards outside of the city walls of Jerusalem, and they would dance and they would look for their mates. So there's a lot of background to this day. And also, because of the matchmaking part and the dancing in the vineyards in white during the time of the Second Temple, Tu B'Av in modern times has also become a day of love. Many people like to schedule their weddings for Tu B'Av, and it's considered to be an auspicious day to get married. And in fact, today, as I'm scrolling through social media, I see so many people that are celebrating their wedding anniversaries. So to all of you who, by the time you listen to this podcast, it will be over. But anyway, I'm wishing you a Mazal Tov and a happy anniversary for your wedding on Tu B'Av. Anyway, as a business coach and a money coach, I took the theme of love and I stretched it a little bit with a lot of fun and good humor because anyway, it's a day of joy. And I changed it into the relationship with money. And the blog post that I will link to in the show notes is If Money Were My Lover. And we don't usually think of money this way. Money people call energy. We call it a tool, a resource. For so many people, money is that thing that makes them just feel really frenetic with the energy in their body. They don't want to talk about it. They have a love-hate relationship with money. And of course, I've even spoken about money as that thing that we need. Money is a core survival need. We need it to buy just about anything, unless you're going to go outside and breathe. Of course, that's pretty free. But, and maybe clean air, who knows, in the future will not be so cheap. But for today, we're going to talk about how you can create a more loving, joyful, fun relationship with money in so many different ways. And of course, money impacts us in our business. We have to set goals, money goals. I love setting income goals. You know that. And I also think it's important, very important, that you track your income, you track your expenses, you set aside money for taxes. A lot of people don't do that, and they get themselves caught short because they don't have a bank account with money just ready to hand over to the tax authorities. Today, in this episode of the podcast, we're going to stretch our relationship with money also to our personal life, to the way we think and feel about money, including that little smile on our face when we think about money, the skip in our step, and all of the beautiful, loving things that we can do with money. So you can think about how it would impact you while I read through. I'm going to go through step by step. Some of the lines I'm going to read you directly from my blog post, and then you could go and just look at it and read it online, but also I want to elaborate on some of them. So it starts by saying, if money were my lover, I'd move through the day with a smile in my eyes, joy in my heart, a skip in my step. And that is specifically relating to that heavy feeling that so many of us feel around money. Like we like to make it and we celebrate it when it comes in. I just had a client and I charged them this much and they paid in full. And we just get really, really excited. And we have that tingly feeling in our body around charging money, receiving money, having money. And for so many of us, letting money out of our hand, including taxes and sometimes, paying our ma'aser, we've talked about that 1/10 tithing. Sometimes it feels very uncomfortable. I have spoken about my own relationship with money and how I would shut down around paying my tithing. When my husband and I first got married, it was a very difficult thing for me. But as my relationship with money shifted, it became less challenging. I still sometimes feel it. I've spoken about that. And that's because of generational trauma that hasn't healed in my body. And it might never heal, but at least I'm aware of it so that most of the time there's that joyful skip in my step and smile. If money were my lover, I'd think about how his presence enhances my life and daydream about our next rendezvous. Again, when we think about signing the next client, I encounter a lot of scarcity with my clients when I'm coaching them. Where's the next client coming from? I don't know. Maybe my business is done, right? It's going to implode. There aren't any more clients in the world. There's a lot of belief in lack of clients, and that shows up in our marketing. And again, that lightness or joyfulness or the next rendezvous, when you can think about that next delicious, delightful experience that you have with the next ideal client who has been divinely contracted to work with you, and you can plan it, maybe with a little bit of suspense. But again, it doesn't have to be a heavy thing. It can be, again, joyful, planned out, not for the specific person, but just in expectation. Think about expectation and anticipation and what it's going to feel like when the two of you and your client, you and the money that you receive, when the two of you come together as a unit, as a whole. If money were my lover, I'd feel attractive and sexy even when he wasn't around. I'd toy with my thoughts to increase desire. Again, this isn't scarcity. This isn't, I don't know, where's my next client coming from? And also in my house, paying my bills, right? If you have the money, and even if you don't have it today, but there's this belief and expectation, anticipation, desire for more money to come into your home life and what you could do with it. Maybe you want to do some renovations. Maybe you want to replace your towels. I definitely have some old threadbare towels in my home that could be replaced. Again, if we're thinking in these lighthearted, joyful ways about the money coming into our life, I think that it will invite more in rather than maybe repel it. Because when we are operating from scarcity, that energy that we feel in our bodies, it also gets expressed in the way we talk and in our body language when we show up on sales conversations with potential clients. If money were my lover, I wouldn't hold on to him so tightly that he'd feel strangled and suffocated. Giving him space to breathe would bring more magic into our relationship. This is specifically for people who hold on to money. There are people who don't spend money. They're tightwads, tight-fisted, miserly, you know the terms. There is an underlying fear that money is going to disappear rather than money being in flow. And if you think about a river where the water is always flowing, and you think about cash flow, cash comes to you, cash moves through you, and we allow money to be received and we allow money to flow out of us. And we don't keep money and hold on to it. You do have to hold on. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Some money set aside for emergencies and for your future, for your retirement, potential medical expenses, or if you need money to send your kids to college, pay for their weddings, right? We do want to keep some money, but we don't want to hold on with a tight fist so that the money itself feels suffocated. When you think of that river flowing image, when the beavers go in and create a dam, for example, or the debris in the water creates a dam, the water that collects, it's not healthy water. It's not drinkable. It tends to attract like bugs, like mosquitoes, and it becomes filled with nasty bacteria so that you can't drink it. Think of your money that way, that when you hold onto it too tightly, it will attract mosquitoes and bacteria. And I know people, especially when I worked as a financial planner and there was a family feud, let's say over money, specifically inheritance. And when it became so tight-fisted, that's exactly what happened, is that it became toxic. The desire for one person to hold on to and perhaps wield power over another person, it became so bad, it became toxic. And this is where people just like drop it. They're like, fine, you take it all. I don't want anything to do with money. Money ruins people. Money makes people evil and do bad things, right? All because of the money rather than the person who is holding on tightly and suffocating. It's always your thoughts about money that are creating your relationship with money. And if you think that there's not enough and you hold on and you suffocate and strangle that money, that's when you create that bad vibe around money. If money were my long-term lover, not a short-term fling, I'd invest in our future and make deposits in our love bank that would compound over time. I would plan for our golden years. That's when you trust money is going to come to you in the present. You make sure that you take some of the money and you set it aside for your future. We've spoken about this before on the podcast, right? Some of us love our work so much. I think probably all of us, when we have businesses, we just love our businesses. We can't even imagine being entrepreneurs forever into our 70s, 80s, 90s. I've spoken with people who said, because of money reasons, actually, I'm just going to have to work until I'm 100. But regardless of how much you do enjoy your business and want to be in it, none of us knows what our health situation is going to be like in their future. You don't know what your family situation is going to be like if somebody else might not be healthy, God forbid, and you might need to take time out of your job, out of your business in order to care for others. It would be lovely if we were all in good health to 100, or as we say in Hebrew, to 120, but you don't know. So making sure that you take some of your current income and you put it aside for the future. And when you let money sit in an investment account, it grows, it compounds over time. We heard from Albert Einstein, the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest. He who understands it earns it, he who doesn't pays it. And that's specifically related to interest rates on debt. If you continue to accumulate debt, and I have no problems with debt, very neutral. But if you let debt roll over and over and over again, the interest that you pay on your outstanding debt will compound and grow with time. You don't want that to happen. You want money to be the thing that compounds in your accounts, some of it in savings. It doesn't compound very quickly because interest rates are low. But when you are investing for the future, that is how your money can actually grow beautifully for the long term. And I specifically address that issue in my book, The 1K Investor, Simple, Smart Steps to Start Investing with $1,000 or Less. That's a shameless plug for my book. You can get it on Amazon. I will put a link to my book in the show notes. If money were my lover, I might buy some toys to titillate my senses. A sleek, smooth, black leather wallet with a pewter clasp might be just the thing. Sometimes we treat money so poorly, we like crumple it up in our pockets. We don't have any respect or regard for the money itself. And again, money is an inanimate object, but when you make it delightful by having a wallet that you enjoy, that you love. And recently I purchased a new wallet for my money. I actually inherited from my mom after she passed away a gorgeous leather wallet made by Bali, and I loved it. But 9 years after my mom's passing, I really noticed that the wallet that she had used and really felt so delightful to the touch, it was wearing out. I don't know how long my mom had used it. And in fact, my mom of blessed memory, she was a smoker. So when I took the wallet from her house after she passed away, I had to leave it outside in the fresh air so that that smell of smoke evaporated from the wallet. It took a good few days because my mom, God bless her, she smoked a lot. Anyway, but I recently, actually not so recently, a year ago when I was in Arizona, I went shopping with my sister. I was like, I think it's time for me to replace mommy's wallet. And my sister took me to the mall. We went to Coach. I love Coach products, just delicious leather products. And I bought myself a new black leather wallet. Now, the funny thing is that I didn't use it right away. I just wasn't ready, as it were, to let mommy go. So I held on to my wallet and I kept it set aside. And only this year, when I flew to Los Angeles in May, did I unwrap my wallet and put my money in it. I said to my sister, I can't come back to the States 9 months later and let you see me with my old wallet. So I actually took a picture, showed her on WhatsApp that I was using my new wallet. And it really is delightful to the touch to have this beautiful wallet. Show your money some respect. Just make it a loving, enjoyable experience. Put your money someplace that you will enjoy touching it, having it, and even holding it, right? When you enjoy holding on to your wallet, then maybe you'll keep the money in there a little bit longer. All right, let's move on. If money were my lover, I'd fill a container with gratitude so he'd get cozy and comfy in my life. Have you ever thought about all of the things that money has bought you, all of the things that you have been able to do? You've been able to enjoy holidays and experiences. You've been able to buy gifts with people. You've been able to pay for water, electricity, gas for your car. You paid for your electronic device that you're listening to this podcast episode on. Just think about all the ways that money has enhanced your life, and let's show money some gratitude. Of course, the ultimate giver is God, and it's really God that we give our gratitude for. I don't want to create it like a godlike deity, God forbid, with money. But when you just think about all the things that God has enabled you to do with money, and you're thankful that you have the money to pay for things, it creates a different relationship for you with money. There's something about that personification of money as a person, as a real living, breathing entity in our lives. And again, we're not doing the deity, godlike personification thing, but we relate to money in a certain way because we have a relationship with it. So I just am giving you a little bit of a different way, a different perspective on your relationship with money. If money were my lover, I'd carve out time for us. Date night with candles, wine, and a piece or two of bittersweet chocolate. I'm not a milk chocolate lover. I will, of course, eat it, but I just love the depth, the richness of bittersweet chocolate. So that would be my go-to. When you're doing your taxes, when you're doing your billing and your accounting for the month, right? We all have bookkeeping as entrepreneurs. And again, when you are looking at your savings account and your investment account, make the experience delightful. Enhance it. Some people really love putting on some lovely music, lighting candles, maybe an incense stick or some wine, whatever it takes for you to enhance the experience. Many of us don't love doing our bookkeeping. It's just one of those things that we do as business owners. How can you make it more enjoyable, more pleasurable, so that you don't resist and repel having these experiences? If money were my lover, I know that in my essence, I am worthy, I am enough. His presence doesn't change who I am. It simply gives me more resources to increase my generosity and impact. And this, I think, is the central point of this whole podcast episode. As entrepreneurs, many of us measure our self-worth and our enoughness by our prices, by our income, as if you're earning $10,000 a year and you're not enough, but once you get to $50,000, you will be enough. And then you know what happens? You earn $50,000 and you're like, well, maybe when I earn $100,000, then I will have arrived. And then you'll get to $100,000 of income and you'll be like, wait a second, $100,000 isn't enough. By the way, side note, once you pay all of your expenses and your taxes, etc., $100,000 is not a lot to sustain you and your family. If you have two incomes in your family, business that generates revenue, that means the gross amount before any expenses and any taxes, $100,000 can be a nice supplement to the household income. It is rarely enough for anybody to be sustaining themselves long term. So once you get to 100,000, I encourage you to think bigger. Think about a $200,000 or $300,000 or even $500,000 business, because that will create enough income if you keep your expenses low. But earning $300,000 to $500,000 a year of income gross revenue, not just income. Income is usually net after expenses, but that can create a sustainable cash flow for you so that you have money in the present and you can put money away for the future. But let's never mix up our enoughness and self-worth as a person with the amount of money that we're earning in our business. Let's never mix up our feelings of enoughness or self-worth with the amount of money we have in our bank accounts or investment accounts. You are a creation of the ultimate creator. You are worthy because you exist in this world. It doesn't matter if you have $1 million or $10 million in your investment accounts, if you're earning $1 million or $5 million in your business, or if you're earning nothing, or if you're in debt. You are a unique, divinely created human being, creation of the Creator. So you are enough exactly as you are today, regardless of your money. If money were my lover, I wouldn't cling to him so tightly that I'd stunt his growth and sabotage our relationship. I'd let him share his gifts with the world. I'd be happy and excited to spend him on things that add value to my life, give charity, and support worthy causes. Again, this is connected with what I said before about holding on to money tightly, that we suffocate and strangle the money, and a relationship is one of scarcity. So here I'm talking about money and letting your money grow. Again, it connects with investing your money for the future. You want to make sure that you let some of your money go out of your present accounts and into those accounts where it can grow and compound for the future. In addition, when you have money that you receive today, you want to be able to give charity and support worthy causes. In the Jewish world, we give 10% of our money to maaser, to that tithing, right? We do let money flow through our hands and support others because it's not just ours to hold on to. God gives us extra, as it were, so that we're his agents in passing the money on. And of course, you can allow money to give you pleasure. We're here in this world to enjoy the pleasures that God has given us, not just the basics of bread and simple food. I mean, that is a certain level, and it even talks about that in our Jewish sources about being able to live a very minimalistic life. Most of us are not wired that way. I don't know how many of us aspire to live on that level. You have to be insightful and introspective and know exactly what you need, and what you think that you need and you want today can shift over time. But if you are not yet at that place where money is only for your basic needs, allow yourself to use some of the money to enhance your life and to enjoy it. If money were my lover, I'd stash some away for a rainy day, for the unexpected things that always happen. That's how I'd reduce stress and strain on our relationship. We want to make sure that we have a rainy day fund. I like to call it a financial freedom fund, because if you don't have money for the unexpected things that always come up, expect the unexpected, my friends, right? Then there's going to be so much stress. Where are we going to get it? What do we have to do, right? Make sure that you have money set aside, because when you get to those things, whether it's a tire on your car that needs to be replaced, a pair of glasses. I love this example. My son, who's now, I think it's my 18-year-old. So we're talking many, many years ago. When he was about 2 or 3, he found my glasses, my prescription glasses, and he took them and he cracked them in two. Now, I'm pretty good. My number on my glasses is not that strong. I can even drive a car without my glasses. I would never do it on the highways. I don't use them in front of the computer. But I needed to replace my glasses, my prescription glasses. And it's not like, a loaf of bread. It's just a little bit more than that. When you have money in your rainy day fund, you'll be able to take care of the inevitable things that happen in your life. Or we had a dryer repairman in our house this week because our dryer was like having some, problems after many years. Thank the good Lord, we use our dryer liberally. And you need technicians, and you need to replace your computers and your phones, electronic devices, whatever it is. Make sure that you have money in a rainy day fund. If money were my lover, I'd know that just like the moon, relationships wax and wane. And even when I don't see him or his presence seems small, his existence is solid, dependent, and constant. Again, we can trust money. We can trust God. There is always enough money in the world. there is a flow that we've spoken about before. So even when you don't see money, even when you haven't signed a client for a while, or even when you've had a lot of expenses, here we are in August. It's hot in Israel. It's the summertime. My kids are out doing their things. They want to, my son flew from Israel to the United States to spend 8 weeks there this summer. So more money is going out at the moment than is coming in, but that's okay. Relationships wax and wane. And even if now the money is going out more than in, I can trust that in the future, when the business cycle gets back to what it is, it could be in September, it could be after the Jewish holiday, but I can trust that money will come in and I don't need to be stressed. If money were my lover, I'd know that the heated, impassioned infatuation of our youth gives way to comforting warmth, sustainability, and peace, an inner confidence that we are meant for each other, mutually giving and receiving. And this is important because I think in our younger years, we like hustle and drive and go after money. There's something about wanting to get more money and earn more money when you're young. And I think that we just have this drive that as we age and as we mature, of course, as you have family, your expenses increase, but that enthusiasm and drive gets tempered down. And I definitely feel this as I now turn 60. My husband loves to remind me I'm in my 7th decade. Thank you, dear. My husband is 2.5 weeks younger than I am. He's about to get there in just a few more short days. But we just have this much more warm, comforting feeling, and we can stop running and chasing after money and just again trust that money is there and it will come in. And finally, if money were my lover, I do know that it's not about just the two of us. Sometimes we create an island in time to get real close and fill each other up, and then we leave our nest to go out into the world to show up more, give more, serve more, and make a bigger difference. And that's the final point that I want to leave you with, is that as you mature in your relationship with money and as you mature in your relationship with your business, at some point, I think that our focus can shift so that we're going to go out more and serve in a little bit of a different way. It might not be that same way that you were doing business. You might become more of a leader, a thought leader, an educator, or a teacher. There might be something different for you out there in your future that you don't even see or visualize yet because you're not there. But we do get wisdom with age, and we can show up differently in our businesses. We can show up differently in our relationship, differently in our relationship with money, so that we can be bigger and we can serve more and maybe differently in the world. And that is if you trust money, if you trust your relationship with money, if you make sure in a certain kind of way that all your ducks are in a row in terms of your financial planning. Again, making sure that you have your rainy day fund, making sure that you have money set aside for your kids when you want to emancipate them. I had a mentor once who liked to call it emancipating your children. It costs money to let your children move out of your house and establish their own lives. And when you have the money in your personal account set up for your golden years, for your future, and for anything that can happen. One point before we close up, and that is specifically about women and money. I think it's really important for women to have a beautiful, loving relationship with money because most of us are going to be single in our later years. Statistics tell us that 80 to 90% of women are going to die single. And I don't mean to be that morbid one. I like to be a little bit more realistic, but we tend to marry men, if you're in a heterosexual relationship, we tend to marry men who are a few years older than we are. Women have a longer life expectancy than men do. And then, of course, there's the divorce rate, and there are some women who never marry. And we just want to make sure that we have money in our accounts. We understand how money flows. You understand the lingo and jargon of money and how money works. You know how to get into your bank account. You know how to pay your taxes. All of the different ways that you interact with money in your life. When money becomes your lover and you have this joyful, delightful, loving relationship with money, then you can feel safe. You can feel confident. You can feel supported and taken care of. that money is going to take care of you throughout your golden years. All right, my friends, thank you so much for playing along with me today in today's episode on women and money and love and creating that loving relationship with your financial resources. Before we close up, I want to remind you that for my birthday a few weeks ago, I created a free course, The Art of Ethical Selling, 4 Key Steps to Non-Sleazy Sales Conversations. It is available for you for free on my website, debbiesassen.com/selling. As a business owner, you have to have sales conversations. It's how people buy your goods, your services, your products from you. And you want to make sure that sales conversation is, again, beautiful, joyful, and loving, and of course, not sleazy. So go to my website, download the training. The feedback has been amazing. People have gotten so much from it. And when you show up light, joyful, excited to your sales conversation, I really do believe that you sign more clients ethically without manipulation or pushing or squeezing or doing any sort of unethical kinds of things. And your relationship with your clients and then your relationship with money becomes more delightful. So go to my website and download that. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye for now. Thanks for listening to the Jewish Entrepreneur Podcast. If you want to stop underselling and under-earning and close more sales, you need to clear the limiting money beliefs that are sabotaging your business growth. Head on over to debbiesassen.com/mindset and download my free Money Mindset Workbook. Uncover and dissolve money blocks like hundreds of other entrepreneurs who are now building 6, multi-6, and 7-figure businesses and creating true financial freedom.